Welcome, everybody that's watching, whether you're watching live or whether you are catching us after this is posted. It is 3 o'clock sharp on Thursday afternoon, May the 13th, 2021. This is Reverend Phil Anderson here of Oakland United Methodist Church and Kansas Avenue United Methodist Church, right here in the capital city of good old T-Town, Topeka, Kansas. I'm very glad that you could be along for this intergenerational confirmation class that we are about to embark on. We're working our way through the 10 Commandments, and I see Rose is with us. Hi, Rose. Gonna do this a little bit earlier today. You know, it seems like my evenings anymore are getting either shorter or more filled with things. And so that's the beauty of the Facebook Live, is people can kind of watch it whenever they would choose, if they want to watch it. I hope they do. You know, we were talking, I think, a week or so ago about why are we doing the intergenerational confirmation class? Because typically confirmation is for, I would say usually students in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, maybe even the 11th grade, but right in there, you know, middle school, junior high, high school. And it's intended to provide them with a good foundation for the Christian faith, what they believe, what the central teachings are. A lot of them I think we kind of know, but it's good to kind of get a good refresher course. And again, I was telling you, I'm not going to go back into the whole story, but when I was in licensing school a couple years ago almost now, and I thought about this idea of an intergenerational confirmation class just so we could all kind of come on board together. And I told several people, and they said, well, I've never heard of that before, but I would like to just keep this going all the time. So maybe we'll be able to start meeting in person. And like I said, when we do it, we may only have 3 or 4 people show up. And if that's the case, we can set the camera up here in the pastor's study. We're getting pretty good internet reception up here at Oakland, and we can do the intergenerational confirmation class here on maybe Thursday late afternoons, early evenings, and then again people can watch them online. And Tom Lynn's been so good to take them and to post them on our kaumc.church Facebook page. But I am looking forward to getting back together with everybody in the smaller group settings. I wanted to take a minute today, because I haven't talked to y'all since Sunday, last week, May the 9th. And so in case you missed it, I don't think it was, we might have mentioned, I'm not sure if we did, but I don't think we actually announced it last weekend, and that is that when we have our kickoff for the 40 days of prayer for the church, both churches, Oakland United Methodist Church and Kansas Avenue United Methodist Church, we're going to do that in person at 7 p.m. Saturday, May 22nd. So not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday. So from right now, it'll be about 10 days, 9 days. And it's going to be over at Oakland. We're going to kind of have a concert of prayer. We're hoping to have some special music, which I believe we will, one way or the other. And we may do it outside if it's nice. We may go outside there to the parking lot by the annex. We have to kind of block it off to make sure people don't park in there that day, because people do like to park there, and we're glad we can share that with them. But sometimes we have things we need to do also, and so in that case, we need to make sure that's going to be blocked off. So we will try to do that one on Facebook Live. I think that would be really cool, especially if people can't make it. We understand not everybody can make it. What else? That's it. That's going to be the kickoff for our 40 days of prayer. And we will have a prayer calendar. I was going to send out a tweet every day until I realized I'm going to be gone on vacation, or I'm going to be off, I should say. I don't know if I'll be gone, but I'll be on vacation for 2 solid weeks. I'm like, well, if I'm sending out tweets or Facebook posts every day when I'm off, that's really not going to be like being off. And so I thought, well, what would be better than that not have it at all would be to go ahead and give everybody a prayer calendar that y'all can take home with you. And we'll have, maybe we can get that posted on our website also. We'll figure out how to do it, but it's going to be something that each day of those 40 days, the people that want to take part in it, they can pray for the church or for the community, for the leaders, for the lay people. And there'll be a lot of things we can pray for, obviously. We never run out of things to pray for. But so that's what I'm really excited about. is the kickoff on May 22nd. The following week, which will be, I believe, let's see on the calendar, May 27th, 28th, and 29th, we're going to be doing what's called, and many of you know this, some of you don't, it's the Great Plains Conference of the United Methodist Church. It's going to be their annual conference. Now, a couple of years ago, it was here in Topeka at what was then called the Kansas Expo Center. It may have been renamed the Stormont Valley Event Center by then, but we knew it as the Expo Center. And of course, since then, we've had COVID. So last year, the conference was pretty well just canceled. I mean, they might have had some online things, but it wasn't. I don't think they had enough time really to get it completely up and running. Maybe like they do now. It's still going to be online this year, but I think it's obviously with a year under our belts, it's going to be a pretty nice conference. We're looking forward to it. I'm hoping that, God willing, in 2022 we'll have the conference back at the Expo Center. The Expo Center looks great if you've been in it. It's going to open up, I believe, for graduations. This will be the really first big event coming up this weekend at the refurbished Stormont Valley Event Center, which I believe ran about $50 million all told, 48 million or something like that, but pretty close to 50 million to redo it. There was some talk about just bulldozing it and starting from scratch, but I'm thinking that it might have cost a lot more to do it that way. So it looks great from the outside, looks great on the inside. I think if we are able to have that conference, and I don't know if it's going to be in Topeka or not, it's not my decision, but last year was supposed to be here, I believe, for like 2 years in a row. So if it is, Topeka is a real good central location for our conference in the sense that, first of all, the main offices, the administrative offices for the Great Plains Conference are located here in Topeka, up on, I believe it's called Executive Drive, up, let's see, what is that? Huntoon Hill, they call that. It's up just to the west of Huntoon and Wanamaker in West Topeka. So, and then we have the whole state of Kansas, and we have the whole state of Nebraska. And so, northern part of Kansas in a fairly populated area outside of Kansas City is a good spot. So I'm hoping that it'll maybe find a home here. I don't know, it's not my decision. I know they probably like to move conferences around, but man, it sure makes it convenient for us, doesn't it? So maybe next year, some of you watching this will be able to be lay representatives of these churches. Before we go into our confirmation class, because I do like to just tell you what's going on, we had a really good turnout with kids in both of our churches last week. And I've prayed and have talked to people about the need for children in our churches, not only children, but young families. That's kind of the bedrock or the foundation for a church. And if we don't have that, then we need to look at ways to where we can maybe find the resources or the programs or whatever it might be, or just the relationships to bring people in. I think really that last one is where it starts. We all have either family members or friends. We have neighbors. We have people that probably aren't going to church, and it may be simply because no one has ever asked them to come. Isn't that a shame? But it's probably true. In our culture today, we're kind of a little bit hesitant to say much about anything, lest somebody tells us that we're not supposed to be talking about that. So easy to get misunderstood, easy to get kind of shot down. And so I pray that we don't do that to others and get into these frivolous arguments and who's right and who's wrong. Nobody ever really wins those types of arguments anyway. You just stop arguing and everybody goes in their way. But usually there's been a bit of a fracture in that relationship at that point. So, probably we've all been there, and we just try to make amends as best we can and move on. What else are you going to do? But husband and wives have to get through their disagreements. Brothers and sisters have to get through their disagreements. Sometimes parents and their children have to get through disagreements. And there's just some things that we just have to kind of back off on and, let other people deal with it themselves. And we're not maybe going to agree on every little thing. Churches are the same way. That's why I put in my sermon last week, but I didn't get to say this. And this is surely not original with me, but it's just the idea of keep the main thing the main thing. Man, if we did that, how much better things would go. We easily get pulled off track, and that's where typically a lot of these problems happen. So very encouraged to see the kids, the young people here. We are praying that somebody will step up and help with Sunday school in both churches. It's a work in progress, but we're not at all discouraged. Hi, Polly. I see you're here. Welcome, Polly. Polly, we're doing this a little early today, so no, it's not 6 o'clock. It's 3:10. We're just shooting the bull here about the churches and what's going on. You saw the kids here at Oakland last week, and man, I mean, there was 6 or 7 kids. A couple of them were my granddaughters, but that's how you start. You start with relationships. You know, if we can just get through, if we expect people from this neighborhood just to start stumbling into the building at 9:30 on Sunday mornings, we are going to be waiting for an awfully long time, because the days of people doing that are pretty much over. I'm not saying they're completely over, but they are pretty much over. We've got to go out and, you know, Jesus said you'll be fishers for men. Well, fishermen and fisherwomen, they got to be kind of smart. You got to outsmart the fish in a way, because you got to know what is going to attract them. And so we have to do things that are going to attract people to want to come and see a little bit more about this Jesus. And hopefully it starts by the way we live our lives. And that's what's going to appeal to people. So anyway, keep that in prayer, that we do pray that God will enable both of these churches. Kansas Avenue had some kids there last Sunday too, more than what they normally do. Pray that we will have things in place for the children when they come, so that the parents will want to bring them back, and the kids will leave here going, Mommy and Daddy, I want to go back. I had a great time. And that's what we want it to be. So let's look at our 8th commandment. We're going through 1 commandment a week here as we're plodding through our Intergenerational Confirmation class. So today is a one that I think is well, this will be a good one to talk about. It says that you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. So let's see here again in the Luther Catechism. It says, what does this mean? We should fear and love God, which I love. That starts all of them. We should fear and love God. What's our motivation for keeping the commandment? Well, we should fear and love God. Again, fear doesn't mean being scared or being afraid. It means we will reverence, we will honor, we will want to please, we will want to obey, because of the great knowledge that we have of the grace of God that's being given to us. So we're going to want to please God. So that's really what that means. So we should fear and love God, so that we do not tell lies about our neighbor, betray him, slander him, or hurt his reputation, but instead defend him, speak well of him, and explain everything in the kindest way. Wow. God forbids us to tell lies about our neighbor in a court of law or elsewhere. That is, to lie about, lie to, or withhold the truth from our neighbor. You ever think sometimes when you're not telling the truth, or you're withholding the truth? Boy, that's a stickler right there. When you're not telling the whole truth, it's almost like telling a lie. Maybe it is telling a lie, because your intent is to deceive somebody or to not be completely forthright. And so the mental image that I have here with this commandment, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor, thou shalt not give false testimony against your neighbor. I know people who I think I've known my whole life, my sister being one, Sarah, and I don't know if I've ever heard Sarah say a bad word about anybody. If she did, I don't ever remember. And sometimes you'd have every right to be a little frustrated with somebody, but I don't remember her doing that. And I'm sure there's other people that I've known that are similar. Maybe you know somebody like that. The statement that comes to my mind is, don't talk about somebody behind their back, and then don't ever say anything about somebody that you wouldn't tell them to their face. So if the word got back to them that you said something, you would not have to deny it or apologize for it. But better yet, don't say anything at all about your neighbor. If somebody wants to make a comment about somebody, I kind of like to change the subject as quick as I can. If they're not there to defend themselves or to even say anything, unless it's something really, really, really good, then I don't want any part of that conversation at all. And so I typically, that's the key. I don't want something getting back to somebody that, Phil said something about that person. And that goes, in this day and age, we got to be really careful Well, let's look at this in the next 3-4 minutes, and we're going to stop. We got to be extremely careful in how we write things out, like on our Facebook posts. I hope y'all don't go in there and start ranting or venting your frustrations. Some people do. One of the reasons I've just completely stayed off of Facebook to a large degree, unless it's work related, is the fact that I did not really enjoy reading the contentious nature of a lot of the comments that were being made on these Facebook pages. And everybody's got a right to their opinion. I understand that, but we don't all have to share those opinions just with a blanket statement for everybody to know. I would be even so cautious as probably not to share a whole lot of things in a lot of different ways with anybody other than maybe my wife, or maybe a real close friend. But maybe, I'm not saying it's something you don't ever want to do. We got to take a stand. It's that fine line. But when you cross over the line is when you start talking about things that are kind of that are going to be abrasive, maybe, or going to cause a problem. Same thing when we're talking about things like, all the social media platforms, the Twitter, the Instagram, of course, Facebook, emails, another thing. So be careful what you put in writing, because that can come back and haunt you. And I've told people that repeatedly. Don't write stuff if your heart is racing, if your hands are shaking, if you're trembling, if you're really upset. Just calm down and wait, and things will just sort of smooth over, and you're going to find, you're going to say, I'm glad I didn't do that, because then I would have had to probably apologize to somebody. So I think we've all, again, been there where we wanted to say something, and still go back to what my friend Barry Feeker told me a number of years ago. He said, when he was early on at the rescue mission, I think he's been there for 35 years now. I think when he was early on there, and he had a chance to really say something that may have caused some waves, although it was probably every bit of it was true. But someone had given him that wise counsel to take the high road. He shared that with me one time, and I've told him about that expression, of course, that you've heard before, take the high road. And it's been something really beneficial. And I think that's what the Lord really wants us to do, especially as you look at this commandment. We don't want to talk bad about our neighbors. We don't want to talk bad about people when they aren't there. I remember a situation a number of years ago where there was an issue with an individual who was in a position of authority, was not in the church. I'm not going to get too specific, but I will tell you, there was a group of people who were going to come and try to discuss what could be done. What can we do as parents, as people, as concerned individuals? And so the phone rang, and someone told us about this meeting, and I think my wife took the call. And I said, well, is the person that is going to be the subject of this meeting going to be there to answer questions or to defend himself? And they said, no. I said, well, there's no way I'm going. If that person is not there, whether you like him or dislike him, he at least has the right to be there to defend himself, I thought. So I didn't go. Y'all see the movie Hoosiers that was filmed back in, I believe, 86. It was a basketball movie. And a basketball coach with kind of a checkered past rolls into this small town in Indiana. The basketball coach was played by Gene Hackman. I can't imagine anyone playing that role any better than he did. And he was a tough disciplinarian, and the townspeople didn't like him. And there was a player, I think his name was Shooter. And Shooter was the other guy. There was a player that was really good on that team. Maybe it was Shooter. Anyway, he didn't play. And so the team was struggling, and the townspeople had a big meeting. I think they met in a church. It's a funny place for me. Of course, basketball is kind of a religion in Indiana, so maybe that was a symbolism. And I remember Gene Hackman was out there in the audience, and he stood up, and finally everybody was talking about he needed to go, and he finally gets up and he says, and basically what he says, he really enjoyed being there, and he would apologize for nothing that he had done. And so at least he was there to defend himself. But where it really turned, if you've seen, I'll give a little piece of this away. Where it really turned was the best basketball player in town shows up at the meeting after it's well underway. And after that announcement that they were going to take a ballot to get rid of the coach, played by Gene Hackman, he walks up to the front in his leather jacket holding the basketball. And everybody thinks, oh, great, he's gonna finally play now that this coach is gone. And you remember what he said? He said, the coach stays, I play. Coach goes, I don't play. And so it was pretty cool how he stood up for the coach. And it really, you talk about a great story. It was a wonderful movie. I still watch it occasionally. Well, that's the thing. Let's be careful with our neighbor's reputation, even if they did something. You know, if we can't talk to them directly, maybe just talk to the Lord. If there's a real problem, I know there are issues in town and I've experienced some myself. And it's hard to go up and tell a neighbor, hey, this is something you're doing that's really bothering me. You know, but that would be the preference then, to start talking about a person and behind their back. And again, I believe prayer changes a lot of our situations, changes hearts, and we just have to pray. I mean, I wish everybody had good neighbors. We're blessed to have good neighbors, have for a long time. But we do want to protect their reputation, their integrity, and we don't want to talk bad about them no matter what. And I would just use those last three words, no matter what. That's kind of the rule to go by. Because the commandment here doesn't start talking about when you can start speaking about other people behind their back. I'll just read one last verse. 1 Peter 4:8, love covers a multitude of sins. So if we show people the love of Christ, and again, if we have an issue, if we show them that love, I think they'll be much more inclined to hear us than if we go there and yelling and screaming at them. And, you know, let's represent Christ in what we do. Proverbs says, a soft answer turneth away wrath. I always remember that one too. It's a good one to live by. Okay, 3:23, so I'm going to let you go. Thanks for being with us on kind of an afternoon Bible study. Not really so much a Bible study, more of me talking. But we did talk about the 10 Commandments and the 8th Commandment. So that means we only got 2 more commandments. And then what are we going to do after we go through the 10 Commandments? Oh, we got plenty to go through. We'll go through the creeds, you know, like the Apostles' Creed. We'll go through the Lord's Prayer. We'll go through a lot of things. They're just basic teachings. And we'll go through what the church teaches about a lot of the things that we do. Why do we do them? Well, we'll go over some of those. Hopefully it'll be something I learn about, because I'm learning with you when we're doing these. So anyway, hope you have a good Thursday evening. God bless you for being with me. That's all I got. We'll hope to see you Sunday in church, 9:30 here at Oakland. 11 o'clock at Kansas Avenue. And then don't forget, not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday, on May the 22nd, if the weather is fine, if the weather is good, we're going to try to do an outdoor service over at Kansas Avenue. Out there, right kind of across catty corner from Redbud Park. Not to be a spectacle, but to take the church outside the walls. That's what we kind of got to get that mental image to get the church moving again. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout from both churches, because it'll be a combination service for Oakland and Kansas Avenue. All right. So y'all have a great day. God bless you. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being with me.